Greetings, J. Paul Johnson. Yesterday, I put a video out that seemed as if it was very detrimental or negative towards black people. I made comments about white people. But let me express something to you so that you can know and understand who I am. I was born in Chanute, Kansas. I was raised in Topeka, Kansas. Topeka was famous for Brown versus Board education, and black folks in Topeka got to go to school with the white kids. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend a school that was probably predominantly white, but we had a few blacks in it. I had white friends. In fact, my best friend for most of my childhood was a white kid from Alabama. As we went through life, we all was just kids growing up together, right? There was never any racism. I knew nothing about racism. I had nothing derogatory to ever say about white people. Now, they never taught black history in any of the schools that I went to, including my high school, so I knew nothing about the history of black folks in America. We'd all kind of heard about slavery, but that was washed over. But some of these same friends that I grew up with and went to high school with, and I would have swore to God they were the best people in the world. But I had another friend, a female friend, that was a friend of mine, and she told me that some of my best friends and some of the guys that I would hang out with and really enjoyed called her a nigger lover because she was a friend of mine. Now again, these were some of my male friends that were my friends that called my female friend a nigger lover. I didn't learn that until I was 50 years old. She never told me that when we were in school together and when those individuals were saying those things to her. So, I truly have nothing negative to say about white people. Most white people I know have been very helpful to people I know. I grew up with great white friends. Great. Don't knock how they grew up and how they are probably to this day. I imagine most of them are very respectful. I imagine most of them don't have any problems with black folk because generally black folks ain't a problem. See, the problem is how much news is always displaying black people as terrible, and how much news allows for the calling of black people the word nigger, and how much news is all about the terrible killing black people, and Now, so white folks, I have nothing personal against you. In fact, if it wasn't for some good white folks that helped black folks through slavery, and there's good white folks that really care about black folks. And I know that in Topeka, Kansas, most of the white people that I knew had no problems with black people. I personally, myself, don't have problems with black people. My comments yesterday when I asked what were black people going to do was just merely based on the fact that they have begun to erase all the gains that black folks have made since the 1960s, or at least 1965. All the things that were put in place to kind of help black folks just get on an even playing field are begin to be erased. So my question to black folks is, well, what are we going to do as a race of people And the problem that I find that people had with me and that was negative and I didn't know what I was talking about is that we as African Americans don't truly understand our worth and the power of our worth, right? I have white friends that don't know the value of what black folks are worth. I have black friends that don't know the value of their value. I'm merely speaking to the value of what the black race in America, and I'm speaking to probably more black Americans. $1.7 trillion. $1.7 trillion. Now, if you talk to black folks always say, oh, you always throw that number out and that black folks are worth $1.7 trillion, but that doesn't really mean anything, right? That's why I say that black folks don't stick together, because we can have documented truth and we will debate whether it's true or not. We can have documented truth that if we just kept our money within our own community, and if you don't know, the money leaves the black community in 6 minutes. But if we could keep the money in our community for a little while longer, there are things that we could do for ourselves. White folk are sick of helping black folk. Okay, and I'm not talking about the good white people that continue to have black friends. I'm talking about the MAGA folks. The MAGA folks is sick of black folks. Now, I don't know what makes up a MAGA folk, but I know a lot of my friends in Topeka now are probably MAGA folks. If they're right. Right? I don't have any right to discriminate against my friends that are MAGA. You know, I think politics stink. You know, I think the vote, yes, we fought for the vote. And yes, all my friends, all my intelligent friends that will hear me will think, well, old Jake Paul done lost his damn mind. We don't know what happened to him. And we think that our vote is powerful. We think we elected Obama. 13% of the population did not elect President Obama. There were some great white folks that voted with us. But since Obama and since we voted for Obama, what has changed? Right? They say we got insurance for it. Well, did you? It wasn't free insurance. It was just insurance that you can go out and buy, but you could buy insurance from anybody. And yeah, it's probably a discount, but not really. Right? Black folks, we get caught up in the propaganda of television and the world. Now, the question I asked yesterday, you know, I was hoping that some black folk could read between the lines and realize that if we really did stick together, not boycott Target for 15 minutes or Walmart for 20 minutes, that's nothing. Hell, you still have to go to Target and you still have to go to Walmart. Their presence in America is so massive that you can't not go. Right? Where else you gonna go? There is no black person in the world that owns a Walmart, that owns a Target, that owns a Costco, or a Sam's discount store. So black folk gonna go shop there regardless if we boycotting or not. How do we not? So, what the message that I'm trying to get us to understand as a group of people, not that we want to separate from white folks, because let's face it, I still to this day, even after yesterday, have some great white friends. You know, some of them who kind of understand what I'm saying. See, white folk want black folk to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Oh, and I know we have. right? And I know there are highly educated African Americans that will just think I'm just an idiot. Because propaganda has pretty much, shaped their opinion on even black folk. If you're black and you see negative stuff on black people every day, even black folk don't like black folk. Now some will say, oh, he's saying the wrong thing. I'm not saying the wrong thing. $1.7 trillion makes us the 16th or 17th largest economy in the world. That means you don't really need to ask anybody for anything. $1.7 trillion is what we consume, black people consume. So yesterday when I said go buy a Mercedes or, and you got offended because you got a Louis Vuitton bag or Louboutin shoes, I wasn't trying to offend you for wanting to drive a nice vehicle that cost more than probably a mortgage did back in the day. What I'm speaking to is that if we would truly support one another, if we would truly realize the value and the power, P-O-W-E-R, of our dollar, not violent power, not racist power, not power where we want to take over America or take over the world, just the power to be self-sufficient, the power to not have to always rely on hoping that white people and that the vote will save our lives. We voted Democrat forever. And we're still basically kind of in the same place. I live in a nice house. My neighbors all live in a nice house, and we're all black. I'm not saying that you can't do and be and have, but if we realize the power of who we are, we would not be relying on a vote to move our agenda. See, the vote, there's 535 people in Congress, I think. And I think now we have 67 black members. Maybe not as many now because after the gerrymandering thing, we've lost a lot of members. But if it takes half of the Congress to pass legislation, black folks don't even make up half. And yeah, we got politicians in there fighting for our cause and a lot of things, a lot of progress has been made with the vote. But that progress was only made with the vote when we had gerrymandered districts that allowed us some power. Short of taking away the gerrymandered districts, what we voting for? Yeah, I believe we should absolutely vote local. And maybe what I'm talking about is not local voting. There is power in local voting. But at the federal level, we just playing in the sand. And we're just 67 little black spots in a big white sand pile. I'm not saying that to have political representation is not of value. But even the politicians move away from saying that they're going to do something extra or extra special for black folks. Do you remember when Obama said that he couldn't just do something exclusive for black folks? And then y'all's savior Kamala came and basically said the same thing. I'm not looking for any handouts, never have. All I'm looking for is the basic understanding that if we as African Americans realized the power of our dollars, that we'd stop begging for shit in America. Now, how do we find that out? Well, I don't know. In all white news is pure propaganda. Okay? Pure propaganda. They keep black people on the television doing bad things. That's been my whole life. I can't recall. I can. The last time I seen a white criminal on TV was the guy that supposedly nicked the president's ear. That's the last white guy I've seen on TV. Ah, man, one more. That Mangione kid that shot the insurance guy. That's the last two white people I've seen on TV in forever. But every day somebody black is doing something. Even if it was just a car chase, right? And the black kid jumped out and ran, right? But, just recently in Galveston, Texas, I'm in Texas, just recently in Galveston, Texas, the cops shot a brother for, because they said he was supposed to be doing something with drugs, but they just shot him in his car. Or pulled him out of his car, drug him out of his car, and shot him. I'm sorry, black people, if I offended you yesterday. I didn't mean to offend you. Maybe I meant to make you mad. Maybe I meant for you just to say, I wonder what he's talking about. But when I said black people don't stick together, hey, I got friends that stick with me. I got friends that don't. I got friends that support me. I got friends that don't. But what we have to realize is that if we want America to change, we have to change America. Not violently. I'm not saying be Martin Luther King and lay down and take an ass whooping. We ain't taking no more ass whoopings. But we gonna take an ass whooping if we don't exercise the strength of our economic power. So I apologize if you took it personal. It wasn't personal. This is business. Black folk, you're more powerful than your position in America. You're more powerful than all the deaths of black kids, killing black kids everywhere in the world. We have the resources to change our existence, and we won't. Yes, millions of black folks can come together and support a boycott of Target for a day or a month. Target made a profit last year. Black folk didn't. My name is J. Paul Johnson. And again, I apologize if I offend you. I don't want to offend you. Again, I have absolutely nothing against white people. Nothing. Nothing. Because I'm my own man and I make my own money. I don't rely on other people to give me a job. So please, black people, understand who we are. Understand your power. White people, continue to support us and hope that we can. Greetings, world. J. Paul Johnson. I read an article this morning on blackeverything.com that spoke to the unemployment rates of black folks being about 7.3%, stating that it was higher than during COVID. So I asked myself, what are black people going to do? With unemployment rates at 7.3%, what are we going to do? And though we know that black people don't stick together, we do not help one another, we do not support each other in business or in education, we talk a lot, we say a lot loudly, and then we do absolutely nothing. White folks are dismantling all of the remedies of the past to re-enslave black folks. And the rich blacks, they think that this will not affect them because they live amongst the white people in white people neighborhoods. Meanwhile, we black folks sit around and wait for the same white folks to help us. We think that voting will solve all of our problems when it never has. We cry and we cry, but our cries fall on deaf ears. And all we do is just keep crying. We're scared of our own shadow, and eventually we will just lay down as a total group of people with our asses up in the air and allow white folk to screw us for their pleasure. All the while, we continue to think that white folks will eventually do right by us. However, black folk been crying for reparations forever, and now they just put in $1.8 billion for reparations for the white folks that tried to destroy our vote, the vote, and the White House. Imagine that. White folks trying to destroy the White House, and black folks is always catching hell. Better know what's going on, black folk, because you certainly don't. But y'all just run on up to the Galleria or to y'all's nearest mall and make sure that you continue to do what we always do. Buy brand new BMWs and Mercedes Benzes and Louis Vuitton bags and Gucci bags and, all that high-end stuff that makes us feel like we have totally arrived and we are on equal ground in America. They want you to keep buying Louis Vuittons, BMWs, Mercedes, and Range Rovers. Because black folk ain't never broke. We don't need for nothing because white folks supply everything we need. So at the end of the day, what are we black people gonna do? We just gonna keep going to the mall and buying stuff and think that the world is gonna change around us and everything gonna be okay. And if it ain't okay, I'm gonna carry my Louis Vuitton bag back into slavery with me. Again, J. Paul Johnson, blackeverything.com. If you want to know about your history, if you want to know about your past, present, and future, search blackeverything.com. We'll help you solve for some of these problems that black folk have if black folk want to solve for the problem. Have a great day.